Serious conversation for creators who are buying things they don't need. They're buying stuff they want. And then they're wondering, where's the money going? This is for people that want to start businesses and be effective at what they're doing. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to another video. My name is Nikos. Today we are talking about the idea of wants and needs, that time, energy, and money, how you're creating your budget, and how you're growing your creative business. How are you moving from a business where it's starting to build to a business that is real and you can walk away from your normal job and start doing this on the full time? Or you've already made that leap and now you're going, okay, how do I expand? How do I grow so I can be comfortable with what I'm doing and really zone into my craft and be really good and not worry about money? And a lot of it has to do with spending. Whenever I talk to creators, they're like, well, like I spent all this money and now like I'm not making enough money and I'm paying like the monthly on the camera and on the computer and this and that. And like, what do I do? And it's like, well, why did you spend that money? And again, the word here is the one that we're using that we need to focus on: spend. Why are we spending the money? And what does that mean to us? Investment is what we have to be thinking about. If I invest money into something, will it return $1 for me? The ROI is critical here. And I get into this conversation with a lot of people who will follow other YouTubers. They'll meet up with other YouTubers. They'll meet up with consultants, coaches, professionals, and they tell them, hey, you're going to need this, 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 this. And then they go buy all this stuff and they start to struggle because they can't pay the bills. And that is because they decide to go buy something expensive that they think they need when they really didn't. They wanted it. And this is a big difference of how we think when we go and we splurge and we spend money on something we wanted, thinking it was a need, and then we look at the reality down the road. And I mean, I have spent a lot of money on stuff that I didn't need. I've also invested in a lot of stuff that I did need, and they've paid out dividends. Buying an expensive microphone. I have a lot of expensive microphones. I spent a lot of time editing videos, trying to fix sound like an idiot, when I could have just bought the expensive stuff, the stuff that makes sense, stuff that works, and off we went. And this is where the conversation is all about time, energy, money. Now, I made a previous video on this. I'll link it below, and I will put it above here. And the idea here was very simple: time, energy, and money, and how I look at stuff as investments, and how I create my budgets, and how I allocate the money, and how I see everything move forward so that I can grow accordingly. And that way, all the businesses I have, everything I'm doing, everything's allocated with a budget. So I'll get into more of that in future videos. But in this one, we are expanding on that talk: time, energy, and money. And where is that going for you? Are you investing it or are you spending it? And this is really critical, because you create a list of needs and wants. And the video there and the emails I've been answering is everybody has a list of needs and wants, but they can't really get the mindset through of what is really a need and what's a want. And it comes back to return on investment. So what we're going to do is look at everything and say, okay, what are we doing with needs and wants? We look at something like a camera. This is a T7i. It still takes wonderful pictures. It still does video 1080p. Do I use this for professional stuff? Well, no, I've upgraded my gear, but you might be using it still. And guess what? I have hired people that have gone out and used something like this because the requirements that were needed were simple. They didn't need something special, because the need is what we're addressing here. So when a creator comes up to me and they go, hey, do you have any work in your area? And, we're in Toronto and somebody has something, and I've heard down the, the vines that, hey, the XYZ company has something, and I can't take that product, I have a list of people that I'll reach out to. And the idea is very simple. I tell them exactly what they're going to need. I tell them how it's all going to work, and then off they go. Now, if they need something more, well, depends on the contract. And in that contract, we're going to stipulate what is needed so we can go out and get it. And most likely we're going to rent it. And this is how it all fits the narrative, the needs and wants. Now, that's the same creator that is struggling to grow. If they go and they spend a lot of money on a fancy camera like the R5 or the R6, where you're looking in Canada from $3,000 up to $7,000, and then you get into those added on costs of the different cards, and you're looking at a bigger investment there, but they spend that money because they don't have contracts to actually pay for that camera. So then they're paying out of pocket. And then that investment isn't really an investment that they can really look at it as an investment. It starts to look as money I wasted. I spent it and now I'm not using it. And this is it. Needs and wants. We look at this idea and we say to ourselves, how can I set myself up for success? I'm going to sit down and look at everything I'm doing. And in this case, from all the creators, there's everybody's doing something different, but it comes down to an example that you can relate to is if you're doing photography or video, you're going to look at it and you're going to say, well, what's my need for the clients I am servicing right now? And if a T7i can do it, then why are you worried about upgrading? And stick to it until you see the need to upgrade. Because at the same time, you could be doing other things where you could upgrade for investment, like the microphones, like the lights. Maybe you need something better to edit faster. So we start to look at this list of needs and wants, and we start to take the emotion out, and we directly correlate it to that customer. Who is my average customer? That client, what do they need? Now, what's going to happen when I start to move up in the world and people are like, I need X, Y, Z? Well, again, it comes back to what I just talked about. They go, well, I need a better camera. But how many clients am I going to have? One? Go rent it. Charge it. Done. Now you don't have to go spend $7,000 on a camera. No, you rent it for $300. And now you're done. You get it going. If that works well, and then more people come to you and they go, hey, we have these projects. We'd like to do one a month. Now you can start paying your camera if you buy it. Now we look at it as a need and we can move it into that category, because why are you going and renting it when I can charge the $300? I buy it and now I am paying that monthly. Easy peasy. If we think about it with an emotion / logic, that makes sense for us in terms of investment. And what will happen is that emotion logic balance will start to change and you'll see the logic taking over. But until we start focusing in this manner, guess what happens? You start to struggle with the emotion side of things and you start to buy stuff you don't need. I have a partner that used to buy everything. And I was like, why are you buying all this stuff? And then all of a sudden he realizes, hey, I'm not even using this stuff. Time went by and he's only using X, Y, Z. So, hey, let me sell everything else. And I'm going to be really specific of what I buy, because the clients I'm dealing with, they don't need this stuff. Now, take this if you're a creator of any form and ask yourself, how are you working with your clients? How does this fit the narrative? And this will start to really make sense for yourself when you're separating the need and want. Now we can create a budget that makes sense. So every year I'm going to invest so much money in different needs. And then of course you're going to go splurge sometimes on the wants. Who doesn't? I do it, but I'm really reserved on it because I have to make sure my needs are met first and I don't go too much over budget, because that's going to cost me. And it comes down to this idea of time, energy, and money. It comes down to what am I investing into all of those? Because it all relates. My time is the most valuable thing. Energy, money, it all plays a role in what you're doing. However, you're looking at it in terms of what is coming in with the return on investment, and it starts to shape up in a good way. So take a step back and ask yourself, have you been looking at your needs and wants and relaying it back to that client and how much money is bringing in? And are you jumping the gun emotionally to buy stuff you don't need, thinking it's going to be an investment? Because are you the type that is focused on what is needed? Or are you going and buying that camera? I recall when the R5s and R6 came out last year, everybody was going crazy for them. And we're in lockdown. I'm like, are you going to be able to pay that camera? Because your weddings aren't happening like they used to. So you're not going to be making the money. Oh, don't worry. It's a good camera. And did you pay it off right away? No. Because your monthly average went down because lockdowns. And guess what? Next year, they're going to come out with the new iterations of these cameras. And what are you going to want to do? Buy those. That's it. Think about it from this perspective when you're looking at purchasing stuff. Think about it in this perspective when you're spending versus investing. Think about it in terms of the client, what the client wants and needs, and where your direction is going with your business, and things are starting to shape up a lot better for the direction you're moving in. My name is Nikos. Leave a comment below. What are your thoughts on the topic? Do you have good buying habits, bad buying habits? How do you structure your overall budget, and what's some advice you would give to somebody? I think everybody would love to read some good comments, start a conversation that is a strong and healthy one.